Welcome back. I'm glad you're still watching Week in Focus. Now moving on, the former administration manager at Uganda National Roads Authority, Patrick Muhumuza, unveiled more irregularities during the construction of the Toro-Mbale and Mbale-Soroti highways. Muhumuza confessed that UNRA failed in its capacity to execute its mandatory duties. He made the revelations while appearing before the Commission of Inquiry into Mismanagement and Corruption Tendencies within the authority. We have a report.
While appearing before the UNRA Commission of Inquiry into the Mismanagement and Corruption Tendencies within the authority, the former manager, Patrick Muhumuza, testified that his team failed to perform their duties during the construction of the Toro-Mbale and Mbale-Soroti highways.
Do you know why it had been delayed?
I do not know.
What about the delayed issuance of construction drawings? Do you know when the designs or drawings were given to the contractor?
I also do not know.
Do you know why they were delayed or who was responsible for delaying these designs from reaching the contractor?
The delayed clarification of design, there was supposed to be a review of this design, and there were comments on the design, but we delayed to give a way forward, give our comments and then a way forward.
30 billion shillings to do a road, suddenly it goes up to 60 billion. Nobody's bothered about controlling that budget. There are certain expenses which are actually wastage.
I think what is important is improvement in contract management. If there is improvement in contract management, this could be avoided or reduced.
After being quizzed by the UNRA probe team headed by Mary Kutesa, it was discovered that UNRA compensated DOT service following claims that they were delayed in construction of these two roads.
Now, who paid this money, Mr. Rhodes? The one you are committing here, that for some reason we delayed to give a set handover. We also delayed the street map, we also delayed the construction drawings, we also delayed to make any decision at all. And for that reason, go to the next page.
This is 11.5 billion shillings.
Which road is that?
This is Toro-Mbale.
Toro-Mbale, just 30 or 45 kilometers of a distance, 11 billion. Because somebody simply decided to delay. The next, what's about the value of the money you committed to pay this contractor?
30 billion.
30 billion. Mr. Muhumuza, why are you punishing taxpayers of this country to award a contractor 30 billion?
Patrick Muhumuza was in charge of evaluation of reports, approval of bidding documents, and decision-making before awarding the contracts. But it was also discovered that decisions were implemented besides thorough checks. It is believed this is the reason why DOT service was paid before verifying whether or not it was true that the contractor was delayed.
2010, when the contract was signed, up to 2015, and you take time to provide this commission with the 509 days. So why were you executives at UNRA offering hard-earned taxpayers' money freely to DOT services?
Patrick Muhumuza, who was the point of concern, is now serving as the acting director, finance and administration. Last week, the board of directors for UNRA disbanded all staff over corruption and inefficiency, among others.
Away from that, Kenyan Vice President William Ruto Samora told the congregation at the National Prayer Breakfast held at Hotel Africana in Kampala that Kenya is ahead of any other East African country as regards the construction of the standard gauge railway. Ruto revealed that so far Kenya has constructed 500 kilometers of the standard gauge railway from Mombasa to Naivasha. He therefore believes that by 2019 Kenya would have completed the final portion of the project. As Timothy Sibasi reports, Ruto noted that it's unity and economic empowerment of the youth that will drive the economic fortunes of Africa. Let's have a report.
The construction of the standard gauge railway is one of the project mega investment by East African member states that will turn around and boost the East African community economy. Last year, heads of states from all the 6 East African communities appended their signatures towards the implementation and construction of the standard gauge railway project. However, with the exception of Kenya, none of the East African Community member states have started the construction rather than making mere lamentations. Speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast at Africana Hotel ahead of Uganda's presidential elections in 2016, guest speaker, Deputy President of Kenya William Ruto Samora, told the congregation that Kenya is ahead of other East African Community member states with the implementation of the SGR project nearing Lake Naivasha from the coast.
The construction of the standard gauge railway is ahead of time. The first phase of 500 kilometers will be ready by June of 2017. We have already agreed on the extension to Naivasha.
According to the agreement signed between the Kenyan government and the China Harbour and Construction Company, ANSPED completing the 609-kilometer long line project on the Kenyan side in 4 years' time from now.
And it is our belief that by 2019, the standard gauge railway will have arrived in Malaba on its way to Kampala. Because with it, we will reduce by 70% the cost of moving your goods to Mombasa and the other goods that you import from Mombasa to Kampala.
The Mombasa-Nairobi phase of the project is estimated to cost Kenya shillings 372 billion shillings, which is $3.8 billion. The China Exim Bank is providing 90% of the financing, while the remaining 10% is being contributed by the Kenyan government. Ruto says through enhancing economic relations between the East African Community member states, the Kenyan government managed to bust a racket of cartels who had mooted a scheme to block Uganda's sugar from trading on the Kenyan market.
So that we don't have to argue about how much sugar is coming from Uganda and how much is going to Kenya. We should be looking at the greater market that we are creating by uniting the East African community, SADC and COMESA, and creating the tripartite trading area. That should be our focus, good people. We shouldn't be focusing on a few kilograms of sugar coming from Uganda and another small issue somewhere.
According to Ruto, available statistics at the Ministry of Finance in Kenya, Uganda had contributed thrice in terms of revenues to the Kenyan economy compared to what Kenya had generated to Uganda in tax revenues last financial year.
Last year, Uganda gave us a market worth 60 billion Kenyan shillings. We gave you a market of 17 billion shillings. You are a very big market for us, and we want to work together to improve that market. And as we do that, we also want our friends and brothers in Uganda to equally flourish, because you cannot be successful in the midst of poverty.
To President Museveni, Africa can only thrive economically if Africans embrace the need of being united.
Yes, there were problems in Kenya, but these young people, you hear, Uhuru was born when I was in S2, an old man. This one, 1966, yesterday. These young people, they struggled and brought their people back together. Since now the people are together and there is peace, you told that so-called court, leave these people. But the court cannot listen because Africa has no voice.
Apparently, with the exception of Burundi, Rwanda, and South Sudan, the economy of the three original East African Community member states of Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, by the end of the last financial year, their income added together was $50 billion. Timothy Spasi, the Star Vision, Kampala.
Now from that, the Uganda People's Defense Force this week embarked on a recruitment program in a bid to strengthen the army. However, the recruitment exercise, which attracted over 200 youths from all corners of Mpigi district, sidelined some youths over lack of credentials. Let's have more.
According to the head of the recruitment team, Colonel Jeff Mukasa, the exercise attracted more youths, but the targeted number was only 26 from the three districts of Gomba, Mpigi, and Butambala.
Itself, in Mpigi we want 14 people, in Butambala we want 7, and Gomba we want 5. As of now, we have had about 32.
Meanwhile, Colonel Jeff Masaka explains the criteria followed during the selection exercise.
Short of it, they should have that registration card that come with the ID. They must produce their original certificates, both the pass slips and the certificate of Uganda Certificate of Education. They must be hailing, or they must be coming from this area or these areas.
Air Force spokesperson Major Kichoncho Tabalo revealed that the selection was targeting youths who completed their O-level between 2013 and 2014. The selected youths who met all requirements were led to a short physical exercise to test their fitness, and a blood checkup was also carried out. However, the youths who were left out complained of the tiring process that dictated the whole process of the recruitment exercise.
They wanted the people who sat there senior for 2013 to 14. Without that, they have been disqualified.
Baina gundi bagenderako waliwo babagala bamyaka nga wakola senior for 12 yabagala above ne below.
The same recruitment exercise that climaxed in Mityana district is to be carried out in Mwende tomorrow.
Now, the Ministry of Internal Affairs embarked on a campaign to prevent online sexual abuse in the country. The ministry garnered support from the police, the Gender Ministry, Ministry of Information, and even private firms such as telecom companies to help curtail this vice. Details in this report.
Children are often the valued members of every society. This is because they are a very delicate composition of the country's population and at the same time a foundation for the nation's future. As part of its efforts to safeguard the children of this country, government is to spearhead a campaign to protect children from all sorts of injustices and distortion such as online sexual abuse. According to Moses Binoga, the coordinator working group on prevention of online sexual abuse, Uganda has not yet registered numerous cases of online sexual abuse, as is the case in other nations, especially in Europe.
International experience has shown that there are a chain of some people, a gang of some people who use the internet to sexually abuse children. And we in Uganda, we have not received copies, specific reports of this kind, but we think because of the way the crime is happening in Europe and the other advanced countries in America, there could be very many Ugandan children who are suffering from this, and others could also be at risk to suffer from this abuse on the internet.
Binoga says the working team has set up comprising of various concerned stakeholders such as police to eliminate this vice before it gets out of hand. The team is to sensitize masses to desist from the trend of taking naked pictures and showing pictures of children online.
To warn members of the public that it is criminal to take and transmit a naked picture of a child, even of an adult. It is criminal if it is published on the internet. And when you are caught, you can be charged and you can be liable to be imprisoned to a maximum of 15 years.
A toll-free line, 116, has been put in place for the public to resort to report any cases swiftly.
For the time being, we are encouraging the public to report to the following areas. There is a toll-free child helpline, 116. We are encouraging that let them use that one, toll-free 116, to report such incidents and to reach the authorities.
Currently, the Computer Misuse Act, Anti-Pornography Act, and other related laws have been in place to protect children from being sexually harassed and other forms of abuse.
Now, the Director of Public Prosecutions took over a case involving 15 senior members of the UPC party, including Jimmy Akena, who are accused of criminal trespass. The takeover by the DPP follows a request by Buganda Road Court resident State Attorney Jonathan Nuwagaba to have the case that was earlier lodged as a civil complaint to be deeply investigated by the DPP as required by the Constitution. We have more in this report.
Presiding Grade 1 Magistrate Mary Kaitesi Kisache ordered the DPP to handle the matter with the help of private lawyers of Sempala Mokasa and Obonyo advocates. Mr. Akena and his accomplices were expected in court today morning, but only his wife Betty Amongi showed up. Court heard that the other suspects were engaging in party primaries and could not make it to court. The magistrate went on to issue another set of criminal summons against the suspects, requiring them to appear in court on October 28th, having defied earlier summons issued to them on September 16th to appear before the court today. Jimmy Akena, the controversial UPC president, and his counterparts face charges of forceful entry, trespass, and common nuisance. Others include Higenyi Kemba, Tom Omino, Richard Angweri, Patrick Monda, Knight Kulabako, Gideon Akomu, Kalen Mujizi, Brenda Team, Fahad Kiliri, Patrick Oaroma, and Josephine Babirie. The prosecution alleges that on June 5th, 2015, Akena and his cabinet, without lawful excuse, forcefully entered and occupied the 60th floor of the Uganda House building, thereby disrupting business of other tenants. Mr. Akena, the son to the party founding president, Milton Obote, has of late been in the spotlight for having had a fallout with the outgoing president, Olaro Tunu, of the presidency of the UPC party.
Let's take another short break. I'll be right back with more catching stories.